Over the last 3 days, rains have been pounding the entire country, but more so the Belize, Cayos, Tan Creek, and Toledo districts as Hurricane Eta neared Nicaragua. Eta has since reduced to a tropical storm, but its impact continued to be felt in Belize. Out west, the Macal and Mopan rivers began flooding overnight, and by this morning, a community behind the San Ignacio Hospital was locked off. Santiago Requena woke up to over 2 feet of water in his house.
About 4 o'clock this morning, I get up and to use the restroom, and well, as I get off of my bed, well, I feel my foot wet, so maybe about 2 foot already. So after that, I start pack up. I just wake up everybody and start pack out and start evacuate. I just haul out my stuff more to the higher level. Then I swim out because I tried to come out on a motorcycle, but it was too deep, so I have to swim out. It was about 7 foot already high, so I had to swim out and try to get some help to bring up my family out.
You were able to get them out, sir?
Yeah, I get them out. I just went way down to Santa Familia and tried to borrow a canoe so I can bring out my family out. I couldn't get out nothing at all. I just a little few clothes, but nothing much. Everything just stayed inside. I lost everything inside.
As early as 4 o'clock, distress calls were being made by residents in several areas. Responding to the call was Santa Elena resident Alberto Palma and his family, who got hold of canoes and began moving people out of their homes into safety. They were later joined by NEMO and the BDF, who continued with the evacuation exercise. Except for a couple, by midday today, all families had been rescued and taken to shelters. Others opted to stay with relatives.
We have 2 communities that are being evacuated at the moment. We have NEMO personnel, we have the police department, San Ignacio, Tonconco personnel, and some other people that are assisting to evacuate the people from that area. The one immediately behind the hospital, it's about 4 families. But the one in the other community, it's a lot more families, yes.
And so I understand that you provided some canoes, what have you, to help with moving?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. I just had to assist NEMO with a couple of canoes, and that's where the Belize Defense Force personnel are assisting to pull them out right now.
Water levels continue to rise. Streams and creeks are overflowing, and the low-lying wooden bridge that connects the twin towns is submerged under 6 feet of water. As the rain persists, the situation is expected to get worse, so Mayor Earl Trapp says that market vendors have already been relocated to the Falcon Field Park.
From 2 o'clock this morning, I received a call from the market manager, Town Council's personnel, and he have been mobilizing the people and their goods, moving them away from that area because the water began to rise rapidly, and he was called, so he began making the necessary calls, and the people began mobilizing since 2 o'clock this morning. There is a plan to relocate the farmers to the Falcon Field temporarily because we are expecting that the water will rise all the way to about Welcome Center. The amount of, or the volume of water coming from Guatemala side will swell up the Mopan River, and in turn, that water will cause the Macal River to back up. That water will not be able to flow, and then that will cause the downtown area to flood.
As we made our way back to the city, we stopped in at the Iguana Creek Bridge, where that too was underwater, and this main access road to the Mennonite community of Spanish Lookout was closed until further notice.
You have roads off the George Price Highway, like for example Iguana Creek Bridge. That is closed, that's under flood condition. You have Branchmouth Cable Bridge, that is underwater. You have Baking Pot Ferry, that is closed. You have the low-level timber bridge that spans the Macal River between San Ignacio and Santa Elena, that is closed.
Further east in Roaring Creek, the water is rising rapidly at the popular swimming area. Resident Sherman Eunice says that they have been monitoring the situation, and within a span of hours, the water level has gone up drastically.
Since last night, we've been monitoring this, the rising of the water, because usually the water rises very fast. And since this morning, I came to check it, and then we came back, and it rise 2 steps already covered, so we know that it is rising very, very quickly. And what we're worried about is about snakes and animals, because usually when the water rises, animals and stuff, they look for dry area, so usually they go to the nearby house. We live like a stone throw away, and the water always go in our yard. So I guess this time it's going to be something very serious.
It is expected that water levels are going to increase even further in the next couple of days. NEMO is asking for all residents to take the necessary precautions to stay safe during this time. But even though it is early to determine the extent of the devastation so far, evacuee Santiago Requena says his family has lost everything to the flood.
I couldn't get out nothing at all. I just a little few clothes, but nothing much. Everything just stayed inside. I lost everything inside.
We have our canoe, everything, flashlights in case the water keep rising during the night while we're asleep. We just have to be prepared, and I'm asking everyone that lives close to low-lying area and creekside and riverside to be safe and monitor this water, because it's not to play with.
Duane, Moody for News 5.